Hi, everyone. I just had a couple more thoughts about the first episode of Nancy Salzman on this interview with Kate Casey. And that I was listening to Mark Vicente speaking to the first girlfriend of Keith Raniere, Karen Unterer, on his channel. And he mentions a couple of things here. First of all, they both spoke about how terrified they were of being punished by Nancy. Now, if you listen to Nancy Salzman, she was a victim of Keith Raniere telling her to lose weight and working her to the bone. And she worked so hard. And she said she created Jeunesse, but it was totally separate from DOS. But that is not what people in the cult have said. I'm going to point that out. But first, I just want to play the short clip of how they describe how terrified they were of Nancy Salzman.
About Nancy behind her back.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
oh no, she knows. That kind of distracted me because I was about to be in big trouble. But there was so much else going on that didn't happen.
Yeah. And by trouble, you mean being punished by her,
Punished, yes, yes.
which was fucking horrible.
Yeah,
Fucking horrible.
she was very punishing, and that was going to be a problem.
So in part two, things get a lot more interesting. Right from in the beginning, Nancy Salzman admits that she taught 2 intensives to Richard Branson. Some people might recall that Richard Branson, it came out in 2019 on Frank Report. He wrote about this, that Richard Branson rented his Lost Necker Islands to the Bronfmans to have a Nxivm party. Now remember, as everyone in Nxivm, Mark Vicente, Nancy Salzman, everyone, they didn't call themselves Nxivm. They called themselves ESP, Executive Success Programs. So there are a ton of pictures here of Branson partying with Nxivm or ESP members, specifically the Bronfmans, but as well as, all the rest that were there, Allison Mack and everyone else. And Branson told people that he didn't know Raniere and he didn't know Nxivm. He says Branson's involvement with Nxivm seems negligible. He just rented the island out for partying. Now, of course, everybody knows it's like Epstein Island out there. We don't know if it's doing the same thing, but it has the same vibe, right? In 2009, he seemed to have endorsed Nxivm Raniere, but other than that, there seems to be little or nothing to connect Branson to Nxivm or Raniere. Well, now that we have this podcast where Nancy Salzman said, yeah, I taught 2 classes to him, and I'll play it right here.
Was he wanted to meet the people. Like I went out and I made a lot of contacts. I brought a lot of people into the company. I taught what we called VIP trainings that were high-level trainings to executives. I taught a training on Richard Branson. I taught 2 trainings on Richard Branson's Island with Richard Branson. Like real, high-level people. I coached very.
So she taught 2 trainings on Richard Branson's Island with Richard Branson.
He wanted to meet the people. Like I went out and I made a lot of contacts. I brought a lot of people into the company. I taught what we called VIP trainings that were high-level trainings to executives. I taught a training on Richard Branson. I taught 2 trainings on Richard Branson's Island with Richard Branson. So
of course this confirms what Claire Bronfman wrote on a blog in April of 2008 when she stated that Branson did take Nxivm courses, but Branson denied it. As Claire, defending Nxivm, lists notable people who took Nxivm classes as a reason why Nxivm cannot be a cult. She mentions, among others, Richard Branson. Branson denies having ever heard of Keith Raniere and that he never took Nxivm course. Yeah, this person says, I would tend to believe Branson over Bronfman, but who's to say? Well, Nancy is reiterating what Claire Bronfman said. So it looks like it's Richard Branson who's not being forthright. He may be technically correct that he never took a Nxivm course, but That's because it was called ESP.